This is something we're going to have to get used to everywhere, isn't it?
There's a lot of engineered ponds in the roadways here. It's, from Mizzenmast to Friendship Lane. We've got a lot of areas like that we've accepted, we've paid for, and now we're back to having to maybe do something about those also. I don't see any things like that being appropriated for at this time, but there's always going to be maintenance and repairs, and we need to keep that in mind when we're appropriating.
I gotta drop off some tape. I make DVDs for people from.
I'm afraid that from where I sit in the back town meeting, I'm hearing a lot of grumbling voices. I had a half dozen people calling me, asking me if I would call certain articles that are a concern to them and their neighborhood, the impact that it may or may not have, and it's unless you are well rehearsed at public speaking. If you're comfortable with it, that's one thing, but 99% of people are not. And
are you really hearing rumblings, though, from a lot of the local people right now about what's going on here?
Every day. Every day. People ask me, if everything stopped tomorrow, wouldn't we still have plenty to do here? Carpenters ask me that. And I don't want to see everything stop, but I believe we have the means to, I hate to say it, but create regulations that slow things down. Using our infrastructure should be a very strong argument to have a limit on how much development.
Weren't you part of
in the late 90s? I authored a building cap, yes, and presented it at a town meeting, and it did pass. And at the time, we were issuing over 225 new house building permits a year. That was roughly 97 or 98. I was a member of the Builders Association, and at the time the Builders Association, through the NAHB, National Association of Home Builders, was trying to clean up the bad boy image of the general contractor. And we took it upon ourselves to show some concern and care for the environment here to propose a building cap. I always felt that, if you go to the store and something's $1.99 or $2, you think you're saving money if it's $1.99. It just sounds better. And I thought that at the time, there was plenty of work here to be able to cap the building permits at 195 to 199. The Builders Association was stuck on 210, 220, something like that, capping it at where it was there at its highest point. And that's when I decided to break away and go out on my own and get the number in under 200.
And it passed.
And I made it a point to get the however many signatures was required at the time, 35 or so.
Hold that thought. Let me take care of this guy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, I'm
You're in the middle of the interview, too.
That looks like Matt.
That's his brother. That's Andy. That's Andy. Thanks for your business, buddy. Anytime you need anything more, let me know. And we'll do a drive around. Okay?
They're actually waiting for another piece of stuff. But I got some guys just climbing all over this thing. So
keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway.
So I made it a point to get the signatures, all the signatures to move forward with the article and get it into the warrant were all builders. And just to make a point, or to make a statement that I can find 35 builders here who are willing to sign on to a building cap. That was part of my mission in just moving forward with it. I realized there were plenty of people who were in favor of it.
Can I go that way?
I don't know. That'll bring you to Bartlett's Farm maybe, and take a longer way around.
Okay,
take a
so
right.
Go back here.
The support is still there today. People ask me every day what happened to that building cap.
Is it hard to do? Would it be hard? I mean,
you need. I guess there were loopholes. Certainly.
Well, why didn't it happen?
Not too long after that, I left the island for New Hampshire and spent 14 winters up there, and really dropped out of any involvement in town issues. So it's always been a passion of mine. I have hometown pride that just bubbles inside, and
so does your brother.
When there's a problem, I want to solve it.
Yep.
And a lot of problems I see that we have are not that complicated to solve if we could all come to agreement. And Nantucket has a very divided thought process, I feel, and it's very difficult to come together and make a decision. Look how long opening the ponds has been an issue. It was done regularly.
Yeah, I remember.
Historically,
every year.
I mean, I hate to go way back. You hear people say this, so to me, it's just old news. The Indians used to do it for fishing purposes. And after this opening, I've been monitoring it closely because I want to present facts, and if misinformation is going to be presented, I want to be able to counteract that. There has been no saltwater intrusion, and this was not engineered. This was done by vigilance. And this goes to show that cries for help are going unanswered, unheard. As far as I've heard, the phones were, before this happened, the pond was at such a level, and it's admitted in the last week's newspaper, our water table is 1.5 feet above.
Oh, definitely. You see it everywhere.
Now, the excuses I keep hearing, we want to maintain it as a freshwater pond. You can maintain it at a freshwater pond.
It's always been that way. If it wasn't a freshwater pond, there wouldn't be fish in it.
The guys who were fishing out there during the opening, I was amazed. Every day I've gone out, this guy's fishing and the rods are bent over. Now we've got herring that have moved in. But
okay, let's put it in perspective for people who don't know what happened. The pond was opened recently, and kind of in secret, witithout going through the town.
That's what it appears to be.
Okay.
Yes, it was opened by vigilance, unknown at this point.
Did they, in the past,
obviously desperate to dry up their land and dry up their basements, and I feel that this is the time, while it's fresh on everybody's minds, to revisit this and to move forward with a compromise and an agreement. If you, I've heard an excuse from a prominent person in town at the last Board of Selectmen's meeting that this was done by heinous fools, quote unquote, because of a few people having wet basements. A few people, I want to argue that it's a few hundred people, if not more. Mm-hmm. Man, since primitive man has built shelter to stay dry, how does it make sense to allow people to live with wet basements? This is a public health hazard. Imagine having water in your basement because the water table was allowed to come up uncomfortably high, and having to all your belongings are ruined. You come home from work, water's come into your basement, any appliances you may have down there, extra refrigerator, your washer and dryer may be down there. People are afraid to go down there because of electrocution. The water in your basement is going to create mold and mildew. It's ruined materials if you have a finished basement. And it's adding to the waste stream.
Sure.
It's a public health hazard.
But you know, there's conservationists that say you got to leave nature alone. It's not meant to be. It's like Wisconsin Beach. You know, leave that alone. You know, they knew if you bought a house around a pond, and the chances were that it could flood because the water table
It's
got
not
high.
just around the pond.
Okay, but I have to bring that up,
If you
Andy.
drove, okay, well let's
You have to
broaden the horizons.
All right.
This was a comparison that was just recently made to me from Natural Resources. Let's say my Comet Pond covers 56 acres. The watershed into my Comet Pond is over 400 or 500 acres. There are people as far down as Hatches affected by this. The water that you see in behind Hatches and the commons, it's a result of my Comet Pond. I have a pond at my dad's yard that right now is flooded. When they drain Hummock, 2 weeks later, my pond is down to its normal height. These bodies of water are connected, whether above ground or underground. You can see the valley of Maya Comet run right behind the Mews, down behind the First Way, Second Way, Third Way, paralleling Hooper Farm Road. Many people on Allen's Way are affected by this. To tell them they built in the wrong place and to turn your head and walk away from this issue, to me, is just blatant, I don't want to help you. They were issued building permits by the town of Nantucket to build there. Those were buildable lots sold to them to be developed. They developed them. They abided by the guidelines of a front yard setback, a rear yard setback, a side yard setback. They abided by the height regulations, the length regulations. Where were they ever told that they better not dig too deep or they're going to hit water? There should have been a benchmark attached to every building permit, and when your engineer sets the depth of your house and the size of your house, that it be related to the benchmark of what the water table is. We have a very unique way of regulating our water table by draining the ponds, and we do it with Hummock,
Right.
and we do it with Sakatcha. Why is Maya Comet any different?